Hello, everyone, and welcome to the lesson today on basic conjunctions. Hello to everyone who's written something in the chat. It's lovely to see you all again, and I hope you had a fantastic weekend. Unfortunately, the weather is not fantastic now, but hopefully, we can all appreciate the freedom that we all have. So I hope everyone is feeling better and you're feeling very positive after a long break. And yes, let's get started on the lesson today. So we're going to be talking about basic conjunctions. But just before I start, as normal, I would just quickly like to explain more about our company. So we're called Cercle and we're based in Paris. And our job is to help you become more proficient in English. If you would like to learn more about our company, please do read the description below and click on the links to learn more about us. And if you haven't done already, please do subscribe to our channel so you can get notifications for when our lessons are about to begin. So hello again, and to those students who are just joining now. I would like to quickly start this lesson, not talking about conjunctions, but just quickly recapping the lessons that we did in the previous week. So we've started doing these YouTube lives in confinement. And what I would like to do is I try and make them as fun and as enjoyable for you all as possible. So last week we had more of a grammar week, and loads of people don't find grammar very enjoyable. But it's very important. When you learn a language and you want to speak fluently, grammar is almost essential. So what I would like to do is just recap last week and ask some questions about some lessons that we had. So I will start by recapping or asking some questions about our lesson on do and make. So I'm going to write in the chat a question, and I would like you to think and answer and to write whether we should use do or make for this sentence. So, do we say, I do you happy? Or do we say, I make you happy? Okay, so just write do or make in the chat. There's no need to write the whole sentence, but just to get a feeling for the different questions and see what your opinion is. So fantastic. So far, Ania, Elodie, and Liliana have written make, and that is correct. If we're talking about emotions, it's an expression. It's the word or the verb we use is make. If you're talking about becoming angry, we can say he made me angry, or the bad weather makes me angry. We can talk about making me sad. I will try and be positive. Makes you happy. So, what makes you happy? Chocolate makes me happy. Nice weather makes me happy. Nature makes me happy. So, those are some examples where you can use a make. Another question. Do we say, I do an exercise? Or do we say, I make an exercise? Okay, what's your opinion of this question? Which is the correct context which we use? So I'll give everyone in the lesson now a chance to answer. Okay, so try and remember about the different uses we had for do and the uses we had for make. So fantastic, everyone has answered do. So remember, if we're talking about a non-specific activity, we always use do. Okay, it's very general. An exercise could be running, swimming, walking, climbing. Okay, so It's very general. It's non-specific, so we use do. Okay, I have just one or two more questions before we get started. I realized that the last lesson on either, neither, or none gave some difficulties to some students. So I'd just like to have one more question just to see if everyone has understood. So the sentence is quite long, so I would just like to say it for you all. After the confinement, do you want to go to London or Spain? Now we need to have either, neither, or none. I like them both. Okay, so we have two options and they're both positive. Can you remember which word we use? Two options and they're positive. We have Spain and London, and we want to go to both. So fantastic. Either is the correct answer. So let's get started on the lesson. So I would like to pose a question for you all. What is conjunction? Okay, so the lesson is on basic conjunctions. What is a conjunction? I would like to see your opinions. What do you think a conjunction is? When do we use it? How do we use it? Don't worry if you're unsure of the answer. We're going to cover this today in detail, and we're going to try and give you lots of different examples of how and when you can use them. So what do you think is a conjunction? I'll wait a couple of seconds for some responses, but if you would like to make a suggestion, then that's no problem at all. So Elodie has written here, a word that makes a link between two parts in a phrase. Fantastic. So sometimes in language, we want to explain a complex sentence, sorry, I'm getting loads of messages. I'm just going to turn them off. It's very distracting hearing a lot of beeping. Okay, sorry about that, everyone. So a conjunction is a word we use which links two parts of a sentence together. So, for example, if multiple things are happening, which you're trying to describe, we use conjunctions to link these two phrases to help explain ourselves in more detail. So, let's have a look at some other suggestions. Yeah, used to link phrases. Excellent, Liliana. A link between several words. Fantastic, Chloe. Okay, so my next question is, what conjunctions can you think of? What conjunctions can you think of? So what examples of conjunctions do we have? So Elodie, before I even ask the question, she's thinking ahead, has already given us some conjunctions, and these are probably the most common ones. So, and if you have two parts of your sentence, for example, I like bread and I like coffee, if we want to use these two clauses, we say, we can put and in the middle to link them. So the sentence would become, I like bread and I like coffee. Okay, so that's a very obvious example, and I think it's really good to start with that. Okay, so and is when you have two, they could be unrelated topics, but if you want to use them both in the sentence, and would be the conjunction that we use. Okay, so Hamza has written here, but. We'll talk about but in more detail later. We use but to contrast two different phrases. So I would just like to quickly explain one word of terminology. Okay, if we have a sentence that has two different parts to it, if I use my example of I like bread and I like coffee, we can also call these clauses. Okay, So clause number 1, the first clause is I like bread. And the second clause, or the second part of the sentence, is I like coffee. Okay? So if you hear me talking about clauses in the lesson, it's not a confusing word. I'm just referring to the part of the sentence. So let's have a look at some other examples. We have so, because, after, although, or, while, until, moreover, then. So everyone has a fantastic understanding already. And I think this lesson is going to be a really good recap for using these in the correct context. So let's go into more detail and look at some conjunctions more specifically and how and where we use them. Some of these are often used incorrectly, so I'm also going to talk about some common errors in conjunctions. Okay, I'm going to start with a difficult conjunction because I think we already have a good understanding and I want to challenge you again. This conjunction, whether. Could someone please try and explain to me when we use whether? So normally it should be my job to explain the different conjunctions, but I want some help from one of you. I think it's really good to practice explaining words too. It's a common exercise that I do in my lesson. I think if you explain a word in English, you have to search for new vocabulary, and it's often very difficult to do so. It's very challenging, but it's really good to search and think about these new words and vocabulary. So Chloe has written there, it means if. Yes, it's similar to if. It's almost a condition. Okay, we'll give some examples in a second, but you're on the right lines, Chloe. So Liliana has written whether is a doubt or a choice. I think the second word there, choice, is a perfect explanation, Liliana. We use the word whether if there's alternatives, okay? If we have a choice or if we don't have a choice. For example, the best example I can think of is what my mum used to say to me when I was younger. She'd say, you have to eat your vegetables whether you like it or not. So here, it didn't matter if I liked my vegetables or I didn't like them, okay? I had to eat them, okay? I had no choice. But here, the alternative, is liking vegetables and not liking vegetables. So if you have something which can be explained in this manner, whether is a really good example to use. Chloe has also written a fantastic example here. Chloe has written, I could find out whether it's safe or not. So again, it's not a choice here, but we have alternatives. It can be safe or it can be unsafe or not safe, as Chloe said. Fantastic. The next conjunction I would like to talk about is very, very common. So I'd like to include it today for students who perhaps are beginners in English. Perhaps I should ask again what you think than means or when we use it. Maybe I'm just feeling lazy today and I want to encourage you to help me out. So who can explain than? When and how do we use the conjunction than? So we have an example sentence from Liliana here, which is fantastic. She has written, he is taller than his older brother. Okay, let's have a look at some other examples. He's better than me. Fantastic. I am smaller than my brother. The food is better than the other restaurant or than the other night when we ate. So excellent. I think Chantal has explained it well a little. So it introduces a second phrase, but to go further, than is a comparison. Okay, so let's say we have an object or two objects that are very similar. It could be food, as Chloe mentioned before. It could be height, anything that's a quantity or can be quantified qualitatively or quantitatively. We can compare them. So, for example, if we go to Liliana's sentence here, he is taller than his older brother. We have a boy and we have his older brother. Oh, he is taller than his older brother. So we have the boy and the older brother. Since Liliana said he is taller than his older brother, she's referring to a comparison of this brother being taller, being higher than the other shorter brother. So I think everyone has explained it well. It's a comparison generally. Okay, I would just like to quickly say I get the feeling and the impression that everyone feels confident with these conjunctions. Just to quickly add, we try and make these lessons approachable for everyone. We do have some questions later which are going to be more challenging, but just for those students who are starting to learn English, we can all try and help teach them these basic conjunctions, and then hopefully we can show some more difficult examples later on. So please bear with me if you do understand and you find this easy. It will get difficult. So let's talk about some more conjunctions. I've seen some people have written if before. Could you please make me a sentence with if in, please? Okay, so this conjunction is based on a condition. Okay, so one example I could give is I want to go on holiday if I find the time. So my holiday is dependent on the time that I have. If I don't have time, I can't go on holiday. If I do have time, I can. So we use if we have a conditional sentence. So let's have a look at some examples. Elodie has written, if I were a boy, I would be a military officer. Fantastic, Elodie. So Elodie is referring to her sex. She is female. If she was a male, if this condition was true, if she was a boy, she could then be a military officer. I hope, regardless, Elodie, you can aspire to be a military officer. Dolphina has written, I don't know if I can travel soon. Fantastic. So here the condition is different than the sentence before, because Delphine is unsure if she can travel. She needs to be sure if she can. We're not sure of the context, but she's implying that there is something which is not possible, which is preventing her from traveling. A fantastic example. Thank you very much. Ania has written, if I were rich, I could buy a house. If I was rich, I would love to buy a house. I completely agree, Ania. Okay, just to talk about a couple of other examples before moving on. Chantal has written here, you can eat a piece of cake if you eat your vegetables before. Fantastic, Chantal. That's what my mum used to say to me as well. Jamel has written, I don't know if I will go to London. Yes, exactly. Again, perhaps it could be of the coronavirus. Perhaps Jamel can't find the time. Perhaps there are other reasons. Okay, today in this lesson, everyone seems to be really understanding of conjunctions. So let's move ahead and go to some questions to test you all more efficiently. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask questions in pairs of 3, okay? So one question will have 3 small questions in it. The reason for this is that I will give you the conjunctions beforehand, 3 conjunctions, and you need to choose which of these 3 conjunctions go in the 3 sentences, okay? So you have to match the conjunction to the sentence. There will be some conjunctions we have seen and we have talked about, and there will be some new conjunctions. So we'll quickly and briefly explain these as we see them, okay? So let's go to the first exercise, and the 3 conjunctions that you will need to use is because, however, and. Okay, so to quickly recap, because is another way of talking about a result, a cause of. I am full as a cause of, because as a result of eating lots of sandwiches. Okay, so because a result of. However is similar to but it's more formal. So for example, I would like to walk the dog. However, I feel quite tired. We use it more in formal circumstances, and we normally use but in informal circumstances. So we can talk about some examples later on. And we saw and earlier on. And is there to link 2 sentences together. So let me copy in the first sentence. And just to repeat, I'm going to remove the conjunction from the sentence, and I would like you to choose which conjunction is most appropriate for this sentence. So now we're going to take our knowledge of conjunctions and apply it to this sentence here. So the sentence is, I like sugar in my tea. I don't like milk in it. So I'll wait a couple of seconds for the answers. I want to give everyone an opportunity to write something. Okay, so we have to use because, however, and we'll only use them once. So I can see on the chat that everyone has written however. That is the correct answer. So here we have 2 contrasting sentences. I like sugar in my tea. This is positive. We have a positive verb, like. I like sugar. I like football. I like music. It's very positive. The second clause, the second part of the sentence, is negative. So we have a contrast. When we have 2 things that are different or that are opposites, we say it's a contrast. I would like to point out that Nana has written but. That's also correct. Okay, we can use conjunctions for multiple circumstances, but since but was not an option, however is the correct answer. But if you wanted to express yourself differently and say but, that's also correct to say that. Fantastic, well done everyone. The next sentence, again, I will remove the conjunction. So this sentence says, listen to the story, answer the questions in complete sentences. What conjunction do you think would link these 2 sentences? So it sounds like instructions. It's a lot of information. Do they contrast each other? Are they a result of an action? Does it depend on time? Okay, I can see everyone has a really good understanding of conjunctions and is perfect. Well done everyone for getting the answer, and I think it's really good to enforce the uses of these conjunctions because sometimes people can use them incorrectly, but and is the right answer because we just have 2 pieces of information. They are instructions. Instead of writing really small sentences to help the conversation or the question flow, to make it sound more fluent, we link sentences with the conjunction and. So the correct sentence is, listen to the story and answer the questions in complete sentences. So the next sentence I write down, the answer has to be because, of course, because we've used however and, but I will show you the answer. I would just like to explain so everyone understands all the meanings. The sentence here, he was late because the bus didn't come. Okay, so here we have a cause, a result of something. The bus was late, so the boy on the bus was not able to arrive on time because the bus was in traffic. So due to the bus, as a result of the bus, he was late to work. Okay, so they're linked, these sentences. And it's this action, the first clause, has affected the second clause. Okay, I hope that's clear. Let's try again. I'm going to copy 3 conjunctions, and then I'm going to show you some sentences, and we'll just try again to understand and recognize what circumstances we will use these. So the conjunctions are when, yet, and neither. Okay? I'm not going to explain these because I want to see if you understand these conjunctions. I feel like everyone was very confident before and you all had the correct answer. So let's challenge you. So sentence number 1. Okay, just putting it in now. The sentence is, I'll text you, I have arrived in Toronto. Okay, a fantastic sentence from Hamza, an example. So, Hamza has written, when I was a child, I was very calm. Fantastic. You're referring to a specific time when you use when. So, again, everyone has the correct answer. We say when because we're relating to time. If you have 2 clauses or 2 sentences that is, and you want to define a specific time point in these sentences, we use the conjunction when. So the sentence is, I'll text you when I have arrived in Toronto. So just to clarify, this person is in a plane and they're saying that they're only going to text them not in the air, not when they're landing, but when they have arrived in Toronto. So it's a specific time. Other conjunctions used for time be after. I will see you after the lesson. I will go for a run after work. Okay, it's another example of a conjunction used for time. Okay, I'm describing that the second clause is going to occur after the first one. Fantastic, Elodie. Whenever is another fantastic example. Another one is as soon as. Okay, this implies urgency. So if you're in an office, it's important that you understand this conjunction as it's very common. You can say, I will send you the report as soon as I'm finished. It's a time, as soon as it's possible, this action will be completed. Okay, we do have a question here. I'm arrived or I have arrived. Okay, so a fantastic question. Thank you very much for that. Normally we say I have arrived. Okay, so it's incorrect to say I am arrived. We don't use that word. Fantastic. So we have an example for as soon as. Liliana has written, I'll call you as soon as possible. Elodie has written, call me as soon as possible if it's an emergency. So here it's very urgent. It's very important that that these actions are done quickly. So let's quickly do the other sentences. Okay, so we're going back to the three conjunctions we had. It was when, yet, and neither. What do you think the correct conjunction for this sentence is? Okay, so the sentence is my brother nor my sister owns a car. So it sounds negative. It sounds like there are two people. Fantastic. So what I can see so far is that everyone has written neither. So we're talking about the brother and the sister. There's two people, and they do not have a car. It's negative, so we say neither. Fantastic. And what that means is that the last sentence we use yet. And to give you an example of this sentence, the sun was warm, yet the wind was a bit cool too. So again, we can use yet if we're talking about a contrast. If we read the first sentence, we have the impression that the temperature is warm. If we read the second half of the sentence, we're under the impression it's a bit cold too. So it's a bit of both, a small contrast. Okay, so unfortunately, we're coming towards the end of the lesson today. I would like to thank you all for joining today. I hope that you've learned something new. If not, it's been a really good practice for conjunctions. We use them very regularly in English. I hope you all had a lovely weekend and you're all feeling good, positive, and ready for the week. Yeah, have a great week. And if you haven't done already, please do subscribe. And I will see you all tomorrow at 3 p.m. Thank you very much and see you later. Bye.